2026. I don't know about any of you guys, but I've had a pumping start to the year so far. I've secured another $200 a week from one of my income streams. My stock portfolio has been pumping. I've started new AI training related to my career. My second job shifts have been going good. Made some progress on housework. Got some new concreting done and a clothesline set up. Gym and diet has been relatively on point. And my YouTube channel, well, I guess we can't have it all, can we? But all is well, so why not take a quick pit stop and check where my financial health is around the middle of January of 2026. Let's see how we're starting the year. That'll give a good starting point to measure against for when I inevitably do this same video by the end of the year. So starting off with my first asset, which is cash in my bank account, I have $34,323.17. A comfortable buffer for sure, but many would argue I have too much in cash. I should invest some of it. Well, my cash sits in what's called an offset account, which reduces the interest I pay on my mortgage. It acts in the same way as if my loan was $34,223.17 smaller. But instead, I can freely use this money instead of having to go through the redraw facility. I intend on keeping a lot of cash for the next several years, and I'll talk about why that's the case in another video. But basically, I can essentially be mortgage-free by the time I'm 34 years old. The tricky part is honestly the temptation to invest, which, speaking of, asset 2, stocks, $34,066.53. My long-term/medium-term swing trading account has been pumping lately. I'm absolutely walloping the market. I've already made more this year from stocks compared to what I'll generate from this channel. This is what I mean by saying the temptation to invest is what may hinder my ability to be mortgage-free by my 35th birthday. The more money I pour into the markets, the longer it'll take to pay off the mortgage. Now, I could always invest way more. That money magnifies to a point where I can pluck it all out and then be mortgage-free by like 32 instead of 34. But I don't feel as safe doing this option. Who's to say my stocks don't tank for a year or two? All that time slowly spent dollar cost averaging into the market, that could have been used to reduce the interest I pay on the mortgage in the meantime. But that's all stuff I'll discuss in its own designated video. Asset 3, crypto. $1,839.49. The crypto bros aren't going to be too happy with this, but I genuinely think there is more upside in specific stocks. If Bitcoin goes to $180,000, which is roughly a doubling from where it is roughly at this point, but at least 5 stocks in my portfolio have the ability to double in 2026, well, are we sure Bitcoin will double in 2026? It could. The debasement trade is alive and well, but from what I've seen, some of my stocks are more likely to double compared to Bitcoin. You could argue that some altcoins will double, triple, etc., but I haven't looked really at any altcoins in years, so I don't know. What I do know is my portfolio outperformed both Bitcoin and the market in 2025, and same goes so far in 2026. I continue to outperform those two. Asset 4, gambling account balance, sports betting balance, whatever, 1 cent. Still 1 cent left here that I can watch NBA games when I want. Although lately I haven't been bothered, I'm also watched sports ball around the playoffs. The regular season I'm not too fussed about. Asset 5, my retirement fund, $84,011.38. 90% is invested in the SMCI, the World Index, the World Market ETF in a way, and 10% in the ASX 200, the Australian share market. In prior videos, I said my fund was like 90% S&P 500. Well, I thought it was. Turns out it's the world market, but similar-ish performance. All I know is my investment choice outperforms what the super fund suggests, which is a video I made recently. Asset 6, real estate, $745,000. Last month, my house was valued at $750,000. This month, it's slipped a little. Standard real estate fluctuations. But all I know is my house will be worth $800,000 at some point in 2026 or 2027. Some people for some reason say not to include your house in your net worth, which makes no sense. Your net worth is your assets minus liabilities. A house is an asset. Some argue it's a liability because it costs money, because, mortgage, bills, taxes, etc. Well, no, by the accounting definition, a house is an asset. A resource, the house, controlled by an entity, the homeowner, as a result of a past event, that being those days you spent going to the bank, checking out the house, etc., and is expected to provide you future economic benefits, such as living in it. Or if you're me, you both live in it and rent out rooms, so there's your economic benefit. Also, I have a mortgage. Would you consider this as part of my liabilities? Well, yes, obviously, so why wouldn't you include the corresponding asset? I don't know if I'm missing something, but I can't help but feel people who argue you shouldn't include your house as part of your net worth are just trying to cope their way into thinking they have a higher net worth than others, which makes no sense. This isn't a competition. If it is, then why am I bothering competing when Elon Musk smokes me at this? Owning your own house, peace of mind, quality of life, future stability and whatnot aside, it is a good way to grow your net worth if that's something you care about. My land and home build costs like 600 grand all up. The house is worth about 745,000 bucks, a $145,000 increase, and it's only set to grow further. There obviously have been other costs like utility bills, mortgage, furniture, and landscaping stuff. So the overall cost is a bit higher than 600k, but even so, it's still more than a six-figure jump in my net worth just from owning this. I'll eventually make a video that compares investing in real estate versus stocks. Asset 7, furniture, 4,770 bucks. Why has this gone down from the prior month? Well, I realized my valuation for my bed and my bed frame was off. I could value it either two ways. One, the insurance replacement cost value, which is what my insurance would pay me to replace my bed if it caught on fire or flooded or something. Or two, what it would sell for on the secondary market. Since I don't insure my contents in my home, since it's not worth the cost, if the house flooded, it wouldn't cost me much to replace the Facebook Marketplace furniture. The cost of 2 years of contents insurance would be enough to replace all the furniture, to be honest. So I don't value it at insurance replacement cost. So the only valuation left is the secondary market. And there was no way my bed frame and bed would sell for what I valued it at on the secondary market. So that's why it has been revalued down. This is another thing people will argue is not an asset. I'll go back to the accounting definition again. In the real world of accounting, I'm pretty sure whenever the business buys something like a new desk or a new computer, that asset goes towards the asset side of the books, not an expense. Also, the furniture such as the beds and TVs have enticed my two tenants to live in my house. So there's a future economic benefit has resulted from said furniture, my seventh asset. Asset 8, business / my YouTube channel, 530 bucks. Another thing people will argue is not really an asset. Well, how do the big dogs like Elon Musk and Bezos have such a high net worth? Yeah, maybe some real estate, but most of it is in the value of their business / businesses. Every business has some sort of value, and mine would be roughly 530 bucks based on business metrics. I don't know, annual revenue times 5 or something. Regardless, obviously this value I've assigned does not make the bulk of my net worth. So it's whatever, it has some value, but not much. Asset 9, items, 14,325 bucks. Why did this go up from last time? Well, I got more inventory for my item flipping side hustle. Now, who's to say this inventory doesn't sell, or is worth less than I think it is? Who knows? But currently the value of my items has gone up. I haven't sold anything since the last time I talked about items I sold. I did receive 3 offers for 3 separate items, but they were 50% off. Bro, I'm not that desperate for money. I'll just hold off and wait till someone gives me a better offer. But if I had accepted, this value would be less and the cash balance would be higher. Asset 10, the final one, vehicle / my car, 8,400 bucks. Yet another asset people say you shouldn't include. Well, if I had a car loan, would you include that liability? Yes. So you include the corresponding asset. If I got in a pinch, I could sell my car for 8,400-ish based on market values, and then use that cash to buy a cheaper car and use the profit for something else. I saw an argument the other day online. It was about someone saying, well, your car value shouldn't be included in your net worth calculations because if you get in trouble, you can't sell it at that value since it'll be different, and then you'd also have no transport. What? Hey, genius, what else is an asset you can't really sell in a pinch? Your retirement fund. What other asset will have a different value than its current calculated amount by the time you go and sell it? Your stock portfolio. So people will argue anything and everything isn't an asset. Some people only really consider their stocks as part of their net worth, which is also silly, but everyone has a different point of view on this thing. But as an accountant, going off accounting definitions, a car is most definitely an asset. So tallying all these together, that puts my total asset account at $927,265.29. Pretty high. I certainly don't feel like I control this much in assets, but that's not all there is to your net worth. We need to go over the liabilities, which give me the ick. Oh my god, ick. It gives me the ick. Liability 1, credit card, 3,000 bucks. This is currently maxed out. I do have a payment due in a few days though. Liability 2, car loan, $0, no car loan here. Paid my car outright in 2021. Liability 3, student debt. $28,837.46. Thanks to the government's policies here in Australia, my student debt was actually cut recently by like $8,700. Although I don't agree that the taxpayer should bail out my own debt or the debts of others, I am not going to argue about this or complain about it. Thanks, Albo. Liability for tax debt, $8,153.40. I owe the tax office this amount as I paid less tax than I should have during last financial year, which is fine. That extra money in the meantime can be used for investments, peace of mind, or just sitting in your bank account earning interest. Liability 5, mortgage, $405,811.67. Having a mortgage in the low 400s is pretty insane for a guy in his 20s. Yes, it's my very late 20s, but it's still my 20s. Most people in my state, in my country, don't reach a mortgage this low until their late 30s or early 40s. Liability 6, business loan, $0. I don't know why I added this. So my total liabilities equate to $445,802.53. That's a lot of money to owe, but thankfully I don't owe it all at once. It'll slowly get paid off as I go on. So take my assets minus my liabilities. That puts me at a net worth of $481,463.06. A jump from last month. As always, we generally only go up. When you work as much as I do, it's kind of hard to go backwards financially. This would have been higher if I didn't lose $5,000 of my net worth due to my real estate being valued down. I could have also kept the value of my furniture the same, but it's disingenuous and I don't want to be giving too inaccurate of a figure. I can't accurately track something if you're using inaccurate figures. So do I have a net worth goal for this year? The answer is no. The stock market will do what it does. The real estate market will do what it does. I'm going to continue to work. My highest priority is honestly stacking cash so that my mortgage gets paid off substantially faster. But as I said before, I'll talk about that in a future video. I will, however, give a rough guess of where my net worth will sit by the year end. And I predict my net worth will be around $550,000. I think this is honestly a bit conservative, but there's too many variable factors. If my new tenant stays past April, then this figure will be hit, since I'll have that extra cash flow. She is currently intending on staying until April, but she might stay afterwards. It depends on how her life pans out between now and then. If my stock portfolio returns a 40% year-to-date return for 2026, or an 80% return for year-to-date 2026, that will also make a big difference. The SMCI World Index and ASX 200's performance will determine what my retirement fund does. The real estate market is likely going to head higher, but how much higher and how soon remains to be seen. I also could lose my accounting job in 2026. I think the job loss is coming in 2027, but who knows? If I do, I'll get a big redundancy/termination payout. That'll help finances, but who knows how long it'll take me to get a new job. I will be picky with my next job. I won't choose one that has no work from home, like my current one, so that could mean it takes me 3 months longer to get back into the accounting workforce, which obviously means my income and investments won't be as rapidly funded, so who knows? But I for sure know that I am hitting $500,000 really soon. How's your net worth position looking? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, that is all.